Okay, mic check, mic check. Should be able to hear. Also see the screen. Mr. Blue here, Mr. Blue, TradePhantoms.com. Let's dive in. Welcome, welcome. What's going on, Sean? So it should be. So what's going on? We got Instagram streaming and YouTube same time. So all right, cool. Let's dive in. Enough of that. Today's date. Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. And I'll go through kind of a top-down approach, starting with the high time frames, kind of morning prep, if you will. What you'll notice here, real quick, I bring this document up every single time I am on the microphone here in the trade room. Top-down approach, demand and supply as the backdrop main source of the strategy here. However, you'll notice on my charts, you'll see a couple of colors, three main ones being orange. That has to do with the higher time frame being the monthly time frame. Weekly is going to be yellow color designation. Blue is going to be daily time frame in terms of a color designation. So monthly, weekly, daily. This is kind of a little cheat sheet, kind of kick off your trade plan for starting out with the higher time frames, right? Members at Phantoms have this and know this. All right, candlestick, quick little candlestick analysis. Location being most important as always. Bearish candlesticks, location being most important here. Okay, and the liquidity map. This is super important here, and I'll usually park that to the left side here. I'll bring this up usually. This will pop up, I'm sure. Use this as a major reference point here. Couple of things to note. Of course, we have the in terms of this week, for the most part, we did do Phantoms. That is, oops, wrong one here. We did have a session with the group at Phantoms. On Mondays, we kind of do a Monday prep session, if you will. We spend hours going over those set high time frames and kind of putting together putting into perspective, I should say, where we are on the higher time frames, along with in terms of price action, along with news announcement. So of course, today's Tuesday. It's pretty light here in terms of just economic news that is coming out. Of course, that I'm focusing mainly on the U.S. at the moment. Okay, we have a couple of small things happening here over there in Europe on the other side of the pond here. The Canadian dollar, right, CAD. But however, the big thing here, the big takeaway is, of course, this week is going to be Fed, right? Fed. The Federal Reserve comes out here tomorrow, being Wednesday the 7th, and that's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Most of us should know that already. And then 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, he takes the podium there, takes questions, so on and so forth. Okay, so just for the sake of time, we got 35 minutes until the market opens. Like I said, Phantoms we were like a little Monday morning kind of fun podcast. It's nothing too crazy, right? Have a little fun with it. And then, of course, like I mentioned, for the Phantoms group, we spent hours and hours on this yesterday, prepping out this week. So, I'm not going to go too much into that and what I'm right. And I think we're doing a special session anyways for the Phantoms on Wednesday to trade through FOMC. I think it's going to be pretty boring for the most part. For the most part, it's going to seems like that. We're a day and a half away, give or take. If I go to cmegroup.com website here, where we have Fed Watch tool, and I go down to the probabilities of what's potentially expected to happen. And for the most part, there's a 98% chance, okay, tomorrow being the 7th, Wednesday, right? There's a 98% chance that the Fed is going to just hold rates the same at 4.25, 45 basis points, right? And I'm not going to spend too much time on this right now. That could change. I mean, I doubt it, but it's expected. Traders are based on Fed fund futures that nothing's going to happen tomorrow in terms of a change. We did talk a little bit about going forward, what it looks like. But again, just due to the time, I'm going to get straight to the charts, and I'm sure that's what most people would like anyways, right? Get into the charts. Yeah, I'm on YouTube. Am I on YouTube? Can y'all see me on YouTube? Am I on the tube? Yeah, I got some YouTube comments in here, so should be there as well. All right, cool. Moving on. Yeah, so we got other than that, we got a couple earnings as well. I'll pop that open real quick. Okay, so here's the earnings for the week. Okay, so yeah, on YouTube as well. And just real quick, the big cap, mega cap, Mag 7 earnings are for the most part done. Now I'm getting Nvidia coming up end of the month, closer to the end of the month. However, today being Tuesday, yesterday we had PLTR. We took a position on that. I got some long puts on that. Him, hers, Ford, right? So I'm looking at some major ones here. Today we do have, after close being Tuesday, Supermicro, SMCI, AMD. That's a pretty decent one right there too, right? We do have Celsius, Datadog, a couple others, Marriott. Again, just kind of, there's a lot over here, right? But just focusing mainly on the bigger ones that may have a bigger push into the markets, right? So, we can go over some AMD, maybe some SMCI later after the morning kind of open and rush. Also noted, we have Uber on Wednesday before open. Walt Disney, that's a fairly decent stock to look at. That's before open on Wednesday, and then Wednesday after close, I'm going to spend some time with the group. We have a live trading session that we go for hours and hours, about like 4 hours, give or take, on Wednesday mornings. That said, I'm going to be focusing on CVNA, Carvana. ARM is a decent one there. My eyes are really on Carvana, CVNA, not because it's a big stock that has any push or pull within the market. It's not Google or Tesla or Amazon or Apple or Nvidia or Meta, right? But it's a very popular stock and it does move. It moves. In most cases, around earnings, it moves a lot. And that's kind of, sometimes, some people like that, some people don't like that. So if you're looking for kind of an opportunity for a big moving stock, regardless of what earnings may or may not be, that's a decent one to play, more speculative, if you will. Peloton, Shopify, that's Thursday morning. Coinbase after close. Hopefully they're doing good. I think they're doing good. That's why I got my crypto based there, right? SoundHound and DraftKings, Affirm. Okay, and then Friday's kind of boring. As far as like companies, not big, nothing too crazy there. Okay, so I did take a position on Palantir yesterday before the close with the group, and it's gapping down, right? It's gapping down. We closed here. We had we just came up to basically very close to the all-time highs, and right now as we speak, it's down about 10 points, about 8.5%. Okay, I picked up some puts in this little smaller account here. Picked up the 98 strike. My other account picked up the 100 strike for the May. What is it? Next week's expiration. So the May 16th expiration. So these might open up in print a little bit there. I actually, for the record, own the stock. I own the stock shares wise, right? And took some profits, right? So this is a note from yesterday. Again, I'm moving on. We're going to go to the overnight high and overnight low. One of our valued member, Carl, is a phantom for a long time and a good member, turning into an amazing trader. And he likes his stock. And so, he got my eyes on it a lot more than what I had, probably more than what I would be, but took some profit on stock yesterday, just being close to the all-time high. Okay. And then, I was kind of one way with it just because since I own stock, I bought some protective puts on this drop down, which is okay. And then I took a little bit of a speculative play in a smaller account here. Okay, as you just saw right there. So we'll see. These are not going to print insane. Okay, but if you got some puts, I'm going to be taking some profit right off the open. Okay, and if you got calls, you went bullish on this, you kind of lost that one there, and that's okay. Earnings are kind of a coin toss. Okay, companies can do good earnings but still gap down. Companies could do bad on earnings or miss expectations, but still gap up. So we talk a lot about this with inside of the live trade rooms. I'm going to have more time. Okay, so that's kind of the only thing that I got so far, just based off yesterday's session and earnings just that are coming up here, or that are going to be affecting today off the open, and that's pretty much it for the most part. So that said, let me kick over into the futures market, Thinkorswim, right? And yeah, PLTR, good earnings, I guess. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Yeah, that's the thing with earnings. It's I don't equate trading to gambling at all by any stretch of the means. However, around earnings, it's one of those things where It's kind of a coin flip. It's kind of a coin flip. So you got to go into that knowing that. A lot of smart people go to college for a long time, and they got all the they read the books, and they go into the books and cash flow statements, and that's super awesome. I know how to do all that kind of stuff too, right? For the most part. And but here's the thing, a company can have good earnings, and I remember I was in an earnings play in Amazon. Was it maybe last year, give or take? They destroyed earnings in a good way, like they did very well. But then the comments that was going for the forward guidance, and it gapped up at night, right? And then in the morning, based on the comments, it gapped down, right, based on the future expectations and so on and so forth. So it's one of those things you got to know that going into earnings. So when I trade earnings, I trade options around earnings, and when I do take a position, I'm okay with losing the monies that I'm risking on that, because you could just be completely wrong, and then you're pulling your hair out saying, "Like, it beat earnings. Why did it gap down by 10%? It beat earnings. Everything is good. Everything is good." It's one of those things. It's one of those things. Some people avoid earnings in totality, and that's okay. Some people love earnings, and they like that speculative kind of big catalyst move nature of earnings. Okay, so to each their own. You got to figure out what you want to do and trade accordingly. Moving on here, right? So we got the S&P futures upper left. No stream on YouTube, says Instagram. Yeah, we're on YouTube. Right? We're on YouTube. I'm taking comments from YouTube right now. Looking good. All right. So I got the S&P futures upper left, daily time frame, NASDAQ upper right, Dow Jones low left, Russell 2000 bottom right. I'll pop open this daily time frame of the S&P futures, and we're on a rally, right? We have a push up. I mean, you can rewind any of the past recordings, even on YouTube. You're talking a lot about this move down. Okay, great. The tariff bar here, the 4.9, Trump pause 90-day. All right, and then we were kind of just moving and jiving within that candle or bar, right? If you candlestick, right? And we kind of faded and grinded higher. Okay, we had 2 weeks, 9+ days, give or take, 8-9 days of up. Okay, it's kind of like, headlines, the S&Ps are up, 8 days in a row. This hasn't happened since 1901, right? Extreme headlines, right? But just note that, just be careful with this rally up. Okay, there's not a lot of not a lot of big money coming into this market on this rally. So again, yesterday with Phantoms, we spent some time regarding that, and we had a deeper discussion on that. But for right now, so we got some supply above here. Okay, I got these lines overlapping here, but the reference point that I'm kind of looking at here, where on April 2nd, this candle here, we had a nice rally up. Okay, came into this level right in here, which is a daily high, and coming into some supply, we really dropped down pretty aggressively there. That's kind of where it kicked off there, and we still haven't revisited that just yet. That comes in at about 57, 70, 58 handle. Again, I'm on the S&P futures daily time frame here. Okay. However, I got that pinned. All right, but it's a very obvious level, and this is a test to this area here. So there could be a bit of a liquidity sweep here. All right, meaning that if we do continue to rally up, this is going to be an area where in this kind of red, pink box here, if you will, nice area to potentially get some swing bearish exposure if you can kind of make up what that says right up there. Okay, and so as a reference point, 5850s in the S&P futures, a super interesting area point location was where you, if you're long, you might want to elect to take some profit and book some gains and look to potentially put on some what's called bearish risk or bearish exposure. Okay, we had a deeper discussion on that. Okay, and so if I kind of zoom in just for closer into the candles here today, this was Friday's bar. Okay, May 2nd. Okay, and we had nice little push on Friday. Yesterday being Monday, very. And by the way, real quick, this is all done on very low volume. Okay, so just keep a note of that. Now Friday we put in a high, we put in a low. Yesterday was an inside day or inside bar. Okay, so that means that we did not make a new high or a new low from the prior day's high and low. Okay, and so if you look at today, okay, futures are down 0.85%. Okay, daily time frame S&Ps. Yes, we're below the prior day's low here. Okay, but we have what's called a mother bar. Okay, this is in Japanese, this is what they call harami. okay, which means pregnant in Japanese, and that's to be more. You have to be careful on social media. Just think of it as an inside bar. Okay, so far these two candles are inside of this candle here. So 5,600 S&P futures is going to be what's called the mother bar low. All right, and I'll just make that kind of blue because this is a daily, right? So I'll put a note there on that. All right, 5,600, give or take. And then we have a mother bar high here. Okay, so inside bar. So definitely noteworthy there. Okay. And one of the things that I was speaking about yesterday on the in the live trade room was this market so far on this rally up has been doing a lot of what's called bear traps intraday, where markets drop down, coming into some intermediate demand levels. Okay, trapping some kind of bearish traders. Okay, and then kind of rallying, grinding up. Okay, so we have to be careful with that. Again, even though we are at a level of supply, I'll go to the S&P SPYs, SPX in a moment too. We are closer to a level of supply than we are demand, right? So that could provide a bit of a more push lower. I'll drop down the 60-minute time frame in a moment, and you'll see that I have a couple of demand levels right down here. Got that 20 period moving average here as well, hovering at the 55.50 here, and we're going to be looking for what's called a trap, like a Globex trap. Okay, I'll explain that in a moment. Okay, so got kind of the upper end echelon here, and then we get the lower end down here. So I got my eyes on, of course, the mother bar high, 57.25, mother bar low, 5,600. Okay, is today going to break that mother bar low potentially? Okay, and if that is the case, okay, we could see a little bit more of a push fall through down, but be alerted, be aware. Okay, there's levels of demand down in here that not super awesome, super great. To speak like a 2-year-old there, but there is something there below that. Okay, NASDAQ futures. I'll go straight to the point here. Same thing. NASDAQ came up area here. We had this level kind of mapped out. I was mentioning about the Globex trap short 20,000 to 80, so on and so forth. Right above that 20,000 area in NASDAQ. Okay, we touched 20,000, pushed back a little bit Friday. Nice little push up, closed on highs, about close to highs. Okay, past 2 days inside bar. Okay, right. Oh, so far this day is not closed yet, of course. Right, so we got a mother bar high, mother bar low. We map that out real quick. Let's map out that high there. It's already high there because we're looking at that 20,285. I have a lot of lines on this chart. I try not to delete things because keep the notes there so people can see kind of how levels got reacted, respected, or not, or broken, right? So especially for social media, there's a lot of trolls and things like that. So there we go, bar high there. All right. So we'll drop down to the 60-minute time frame. I'll do some Globex traps. Okay. That high point here for that little bar high. If we do happen to take that out, we had some levels. I have a level up here. Call it. And this level is fairly obvious. I talked about that yesterday in a bit more detail. But if we do happen to take this level out, if we do go higher, I have a nice little Globex liquidity trap up here, 20,750. Okay, 20,750. NASDAQ 20,860. So about 100-point area here. A couple of daily highs here. Some unfilled gaps on QQQs up here as well. Okay, so this is good for a nice little short bearish location here. Take profit on longs, book some gains, and then enter some bearish exposure potentially up there. Okay, and we're going to go through a couple of levels down here, a couple of daily lows. This was a liquidity sweep right down here. So this is exactly what I'm talking about over here. Last week we were trading. This was last Wednesday where we had a couple of daily lows here, and then this market, we had a inside bar. We finally broke that down. This looked like this market was just going to tank and go down, right? Picked up swiped some daily lows, came down to the 19,090, almost to the tick for a liquidity sweep. Okay, finished hammer bar up, and then continued to grind higher. Okay, so again, that's and again, this is why I keep my notes and things of that nature, right? That Wednesday we would short off the open, we were taking profits, boom, 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 taking profits. Actually, I had a member at Phantoms pick up a long Trev, shout out Trev, caught that bottom and just faded up, and grind it up, and just continued up. So that was an awesome trade. Caught it short, and we had some members catch that long both ways. All right, which was cool. All right, got squeezed out of some of my shorts here and had a flip long. Okay, so cool. Anyways, I'm going to getting too excited and going ahead. Have a couple levels lower. All right, and I'm just going to go switch over to the monthly, weekly, daily here. All right, just to show you the lay of the land for you new folks here, just on the socials here. All right, monthly, weekly, daily. Got the 60-minute up here, 60-minute upper left, 30-minute here, bottom left, 5-minute here, 2-minute here. All right, I will switch over to the S&P futures really briefly. All right, now we just went over kind of the higher time frames, and I'm dropping down to a 60-minute time frame here, and equivalent to what I was mentioning here with the mother bar high, mother bar low. We also want to map out what's called our Globex high, Globex low. Let me just clean this up a bit. Globex high here, Globex low. All right, overnight high, overnight low, Globex low here. Globex high here. Thinkorswim graced this space out. Again, 1 hour time frame of the S&P futures. Just so you can see we're kind of grinding down. We are coming into a level of demand, albeit, this is not the greatest level of demand. However, it's demand nonetheless. And that is the mother bar low that we just spoke about, right? That's that Friday low. Okay, that's kind of holding this kind of like upper range here. Okay, so Globex trap is if we break Globex low here, and there's also a daily low right there as well, the mother bar, do I have an institutional level of demand below that Globex low? And in this particular case, we also have the mother bar low right there. Okay, and if I look down on the left, we have this 5550, right? 5550. Okay, it's a nice little rally, basing rally. Okay, impulse IBI. Okay, and so this is going to be decent for a bullish trade, trapping, right? Trapping some potential shorts and bearish trades coming down into here. And this could be an area where we can pick up some bullish exposure and get long, right? That comes in 55.50. Okay. Now, one thing that we can potentially watch out for here this morning too is I don't really see nothing right below that on the smaller time frames. You have to be careful with this when you're going so down on this, dropping down on the small time frames. For you aggressive traders that maybe have more experience and know kind of what this is, we do cover Globex traps exclusively. In one of our focus classes there. Okay, but if you're a bit more aggressive, if we break that 5600 and that mother bar low, there is a small I would say, baby little level here on a 5-minute time frame. Be careful with this basing impulse here. That comes in at about 5590. Okay, now I'm going to put an asterisk on this, kind of a note here that to remind that this is going to be fairly aggressive here. Okay, but this could be a little trap here. 5590 S&P futures. Okay, G-trap bullish. However, asterisk, meaning no, this is aggressive. Okay. Okay, right below that mother bar low, 5600. All right, when you think about the even numbers, S&P futures just broke 5600 even number, short. Okay, right down in here into a little bit of a rally-based rally right there, and it could be a little bit of a trap. Okay, 5550 is obviously better. Okay, but that 90 handle could provide something there. NASDAQ, 1 hour time frame. Globex high. Can I clean this up? I have to clean it up. Globex high here. Globex low. See NASDAQ down 1.25. There's that mother bar low. Here's a not super high quality level of demand that we're coming into right in here, right? All right, if that potentially snaps, that's what we're testing right now. See, we already dipped into it, kind of bounced out. We already dipped in it again, tried to bounce out. So these little bounces are getting less and less and less bouncy, right, if you will. That white line also is VWAP. Okay, so we're riding VWAP down so far, volume weighted average price. So, just be careful. We could dip down lower, right? Now, we do have a weekly low that broke and again, a retest on the other side, 19,600. There goes that equivalent Globex trap on the S&P futures at 55.50. This comes in at NASDAQ, 9,500. Wow, so the number of today is 5. Okay. Number of today is number 5. Lucky number. All right. So you might want to put that on your radar. Be extremely careful. NASDAQ's a bit more weaker this morning than others. Okay. That equivalent aggressive level, be extremely careful with this. But if I were to put that on the table here and on the dock, be extremely careful with this, especially with NASDAQ. 19,660. Aggressive. G-trap long. And somebody asked, I don't know when it came through on Instagram or YouTube, but the what's a G-trap? What we're trying to do is trap traders who are doing the wrong things at the wrong time, right? So anybody who's just selling short just because it broke a daily low and a Globex low, but if you have a level of demand right below that, they potentially get what's called trapped. All right. I do go in a lot more granular detail regarding liquidity and things like that. Right now it's 12 minutes before the market opens. And so I have so much to cover that if I get and I go down to that rabbit hole, we'll spend the next 30 minutes and miss the open as I try to explain that in detail. So we do about an hour and a half session just exclusively on G traps alone. All right, themselves. All right, again, VWAP right here, kind of riding that down. Again, that one's super aggressive there, that 19,660, okay? 19,500. 500 is going to be a little bit more of a better one down there. Okay, we are a little bit away from VWAP here, so anybody who is already short might want to scale up a little bit here, okay? Just in the event that this market does we gap down, but we kind of rip up. Okay, that said, let me move on here. I'm going to go over into trading view here. I'll put a weekly on the left, just a daily on the right for right now. VIX, one of the first things we want to check here, the volatility index of the S&P 500. And, long story short, short story long here is going to be VIX up, market down, VIX down, market up, inverse correlation. There's a lot more to that. But let's just keep it simple right now. We got 11 minutes before the bell rings and market opens, regular trading hours. VIX is up 4.8%. Not super, I would say, concerning, but it's up nonetheless. So, VIX up, markets are gapping down. One of the things that we do here, yes, we look at it, we're not mapping out demand and supply. VIX is more of a gauge, if you will, but volatility gauge. However, we do map this out on the smaller time frame as well. And one of the things that I like to do, similarly to the overnight high, overnight low in the S&Ps, is I'll take the this line here, and so far the VIX overnight high is right here, comes in at about 25. That's fairly elevated, not super elevated, but VIX 25. There's some volatility is coming into the marketplace back again, right? Markets calmed down a lot on this rally. Now we're getting a little bit more of a volatility, at least this morning. Hopefully that kind of holds. And then the overnight low, you can see the VIX kind of gapped up. All right, I'll just use that low right there off the gap as the overnight low. Okay, so if VIX continues to go up, that could be more bearish for the market, right? And if we have a spike up, that aggressive Globex trap might not be ideal. Okay, if we get a spike up in VIX, if this continues, right? If you start to print, VIX 7, 8, 10%, okay, you have to be careful. This market might be going down a bit more on a flush. However, if VIX kind of calms down and comes lower, and VIX takes out the overnight low and grinds lower, then that could be a bit more bullish for the market. Okay, and those demand zones, if you will, are probably going to be respected. Okay, and we could be rallying, fading, grinding back up. Okay, so again, I kind of map out the high, the low, and kind of where just pin where I am last time I saw it, and we're gonna monitor this. okay, amongst other things. Right now, as we speak, we got spies. Mark, I think that's Mark Wahlberg, OD rabbit hole, options depth rabbit hole. I'm getting options depth in like probably 1 minute, minute and a half. Here's spies, weekly, daily on the right. All right. Again, we see a bunch of orange and yellows and blues, right? Lions and tigers and bears. So orange, yellows, and blue. We got monthly, weekly, daily, right? So again, we spent some time on Phantoms yesterday for a couple of hours. Okay. Right now, daily time frame, spies. Okay. Close here, gap down here. So we have a gap down. All right. Gapping down about what? Almost 1%, right? S&P futures down almost 1%, 5 points. All right, and what's interesting about today is we're going to be left with an unfilled gap up here because we gapped down, and then we do have another unfilled gap right here. So you might want to put this on your radar. This is spies here. All right, and there's even another gap right here. So there's a couple, but we're gapping down below that already. So very gappy. All right, so there's a gap, there's a close here, and we had a gap up here, but this gap that we closed here, gapping down here, is filling that gap. Okay, so again, you got to know how to read the chart, but I'll put the important one here because because I can't go into that right now, but this is an unfilled gap that you might want to put on your radar here, spies, 554.50, give or take, might be a penny or two off, okay, but that's the location there. All right, so gap down. Okay, we got last week's VWAP hanging out down here too as well. So again, if I just drop down just really briefly down into kind of like a 60-minute time frame. All right, this is let me just delete that. We have we're going to be filling this gap here already, assuming that we kind of hold this area or hold this level that we're at right now within 7 minutes off the open. Okay, now right below that, unfilled gap is super important here. All right, and right below that unfilled gap, we do have a impulse basing impulse right down in here too, 550 on the S&Ps, spies there. Okay, so you might want to put them in your radar. We got another little level there, monthly retest 546. Okay, I'll be trading the open with y'all folks in here. Okay, so you'll see how I operate if you're new. See some phantoms in here. There, you know the deal. All right. Now that said, too, Mark had mentioned about options depth. All right. Now what I'm going to do here is go to the SPX real quick, my favorite market on the planet, and we're gapping down what 1%, give or take, right? So that's going to be at or around SPX about 5,600, give or take. Okay, now that might change a little bit here, plus or minus 5. But what am I going to do with this information? Well, I'm going to take this, and there's something called options depth that we use, and this is market maker trading exposure based on GEX and Gamma. And so I'm just kind of zooming in here. I don't have enough time to explain this, that's for sure. But getting down to the level of 5,600 gapping down, I want to see where we are in terms of market maker risk exposure, or I should say hedging exposure. So 5,600, we are gapping down into a bit of what's called a positive gamma node. Now, right below there, we have a not so great, how do I say it? There's a TRO, meaning low, not a lot of gamma here. That yellow is a very low gamma, right? The most important thing to keep it very simple for right now, I want to see dark blues, okay, or dark reds. I like negative GEX environment because I like movement and speed, okay? But long story short, yes, we're gapping down, okay? But the question is, are we going to gap down and just continue to flush down and come down or not? What this is telling me, to keep it long story short, is that, okay, we have some space lower, okay, but if we get down into this 5560, and definitely the 5530. That dark blue right there is going to provide some demand, okay, or some support, if you will. Okay, so I'll try my best to kind of fill this in as this market opens. But as we speak right now, there's not a lot of gamma that we're opening up into. Okay, the next little high gamma node here, which is not super strong, but it's 5580. So if I go back to the chart, 5580, which is kind of like right here, there's a decent little gamma node right here, right? All right, and that kind of confluences with last week's VWAP as well. All right, but this market's about to open up in 4 minutes, and so we're going to get this live, and I'll keep this updated. Okay. That said, let's just push forward a little bit here. Qs. NASDAQ ETF QQQs. Of course, gap down. All right, close here. Pre-market quote, well, right here, give or take, gapping down about what, a point, almost a point and a half, 0.30, give or take. All right, again, we get that unfilled gap right here. Put that on your radar. Now, this could provide some kind of bounce, demand, support, if you will. All right, and we're going to confluence that with what the futures are doing as well. We do have also this daily high that we can use as a potential reference. We've got a monthly retest level here on the inside of that 2477.41. All right, so yeah, we are gapping down, but we get some stuff below it. Okay, but this is a pretty nasty gap. If we look at NASDAQ, we closed here. Okay, and we're gapping down, and we're clearing not only yesterday's low, but even a Thursday low in here as well. So that could provide a little bit more of a push down lower. That's why I was mentioning here, if you remember, on the S&P futures, NASDAQ futures, that this level right here, you might want to be a little cautious with this aggressive level, especially on the NASDAQ, right? Is there information how we can use OD for futures? Anthony Turner, great question. Great question. Here's what I will say. They only have SPX because SPX market makers hedge, use the SPX market and they hedge. Amongst other things, long story short, the market's about to open up in less than 2 minutes. But here's what I'll say. What you want to do is use the SPX prices and then equate that to what the S&P futures price is, right? Because you got to remember, you have the S&P futures, which is a futures contract on the S&P 500. The SPX is the cash index on S&P, right? So you have to go. It takes some work, but you'd have to say, okay, if I have a high gamma node on SPX at 5,600 as an example, okay, what is that 5,600 price? Right at the time and day of when, and marry that to what the S&P futures price is going to be, right? Does that make sense? So just if you put like the SPX and the S&P futures side by side, okay, just look at the exact time and date when that level was made, and then you can see what the S&P futures price would be, and you can trade off of that using futures. All right, does that make sense? Okay, it's not hard. It just takes an extra minute. Okay, like for example, if I were to say, okay, we have this high massive gamma node at 5220 here on SPX, right? 5520, SPX 5520, which is right here. 5520, right? 5520, and then that level was developed on what, Wednesday, April 30th at about 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So now I just go to the S&P futures. I go to Wednesday, May 30th, right here, and voila, guess what? Right there, there it is right there. Wednesday, if you look at the time and date up here, 4:30, right? So does this level of demand on the S&P futures, 5550, does that coincide with a positive gamma node on the options depth? Right? Indeed. All right, bells bottom ring. Typically, I will go over. There it is. So I will go over some FANG stocks here, gaps, so on and so forth. I can take a quick peek real quick. A lot of things are gapping down. Anyways, the ultimate question today, this morning, is going to be: we have this gap down, but we're going to have a fade higher all day. So we'll see. All right, I'll switch over here to a daily. All right, Amazon gapping down, breaking yesterday's low, not Amazon, Tesla. All right, so we got SPX, the opening print, 5.5, you want to call it 9.6. Let me just pull a daily VWAP just real quick while I'm here. All right, let me check internals really briefly. Be patient. So we talked a little bit about VIX already. All right, again, watch this VIX. If that spikes higher, that could be a bit more bearish for the market. If I got a little bit of a VIX collapse, that's telling me something as well. Advanced declines. I'm still battling a little bit of this cold here, so forgive my voice and my sniffles and all that BS. Hold on, give me a second. Okay, back. Advanced declines negative 1100, not super extreme, but down. But again, if this thing trickles to the upside, we're just gonna have to track this, right? We have to watch out if this trickles to the upside. Vol D, first print, negative 2.3. Extreme would be plus or minus 3. We got VIX coming off its highs just a little bit there, super early, 2 minutes in. All right, and what we so we gap down now. This is going to fill in here, right? So again, we do have some stuff right here, not super strong, but we have some kind of positive gamma node here. All right, let's get my data here for the open. Let me switch this chart. I'm going to go ahead and pull some VWAPs on the MAG 7. All right, as you see, Tesla gap down. Apple gap down into its last month's VWAP, put in a little bit of a trap bar here. Interesting. Apple's been relatively weaker, however, so be patient with that. All right, so far, very early, SPYs are holding somewhat of some bids here. Microsoft, some relative strength off the back of earnings last week. All right, Apple did put in a little bit of a trap bar here. All right, potentially putting in a positive COG on the 2 minute time frame here. So for sure, Apple and Microsoft, a bit more of relative strength. We'll see if that holds so far. Just a gap down, but so far off the open. Gap down into some demand here. All right, so Apple's pretty decent here. Not the greatest location in the world in the monthly, weekly, dailies here, but a bit of a trap bar here on the 5 minute here too, and then the 2 minute. You might want to wait for maybe a positive COG close here, green bar take out red, and see if that holds here to execute that. What's Palantir? I'm long this Palantir put. All right, so gap down. And I'm getting Vega bumped right now, so we'll see if we get some more room here. Bought these for 163, they're going for 150, 147. So Vega bumped right now, down a couple cents. So we need some more room down on that. Those are too deep out of the money. All right, we're getting moved. Just be patient on that. Tesla's interesting here too. Looking at a squeeze on Tessie. We got a little range here. Based on what we were talking about yesterday in our live trade room, if you want to try to get on the front end of this potential squeeze, which may or may not happen, we talked about yesterday in deeper discussion, you have a low risk entry right now. So I'm going to get long call for the day here on Tesla. However, if you were in that session yesterday, we spent hours on. We had a little TED talk on the potential squeeze on Tessie. And right now, we're at the bottom of that low range here of that. And so you have very low risk you get on the front end of that if that happens, right? But it's extremely low risk based on the thesis that we were talking about yesterday, right? So that's kind of shaping up a little bit there. Google breaking out opening print high. So this is what I was mentioning on the pre-market prep as, we're gapping down. However, gapping down to some levels. All right, Google looks a little bit more better in terms of holding its structure and decent level here. All right, so I'll pick up some Google long call. Still kind of still gonna be a little patient on Tesla. I might be doing a more of a swing trade on that. Okay, so I'm going to pick up these 165 strike calls on Google. Just for a day trade, May 9th expiration. All right, 165. You see it just got filled there, 183. Let me get this on my other account over here. So just be a day trade. Spies just popped. Let me grab this Google. Put the premium chart here. Tesla popping. Anybody get pull the trigger on Tesla? Tesla looking good. So I just got some long call, 165 straight. So I'll put that here, long call. Day trade. This is bullish, right? Let's see. Let's see. Tesla did push a bit there. Where did Apple go? Did it not fall? It's not following through as much. We do have a positive CRG. It's trying to go. Do its thing. MSTR looking decent. Microsoft as well. FANG's holding some bits so far in the morning. Just got to watch out. Opening day's range could be a bit of a trap. So just be patient with that. VIX off highs. All right, you want to see advanced decline until I continue to push higher. All right, so a lot of things gap down. Again, the question is going to be, are we going to gap down, fade higher? Our SPYs just did close a positive COG here. All right, Tesla giving it to us there. All right, might be able to work on a pullback there. You know, if you wanted a hyper scalp, you know, Google's up a bit there from 183, printing about 2. If you wanted a hyper scalp, take some out. I'll take some out on the other account here. So TP some Google. All right, so just take a profit on Google. Okay. I got my eye on SPY SPX. I want to see how that positive COG gets absorbed. All right, so we have this guy named TP Timmy at Phantoms. Take profit, 1. Let's continue. Tesla's acting up a little bit. It's pulling back to VWAP. Con, you not going to close for a positive COG close? I don't really understand that question. If it's, do I wait for a close for a positive COG? That answer would be yes, if that's the question. All right, VIX back mid. We do have negative GEX above here. We need to break this kind of blue line right here. It would be in what's called a negative GEX environment. There could be a push here on SPX and SPYs. If you wanted to be in it just aggressively, you know, you could put your stop loss at break even on Google. I usually don't like to do that too quick here, but for the gram and for you know, for YouTube, you got to be careful with risk, right? With people online and things like that. So, you know, you could just move your stop loss at break even on Google and take risk off the table there after the TP1 there. Yeah, Dylan, my man Pinsky. Positive Gex is yeah, man. You're like me. I think you are like me a little bit in the sense that you know, I like speed. I like movement in markets. So like negative Gex is definitely something that you know, I prefer. We could get a little push here, but we got to get over this 55.90 kind of like that's creating this positive kind of Gex environment. So if SPX does pop, we can potentially go. One of the things that we could do here, if I go over to the SPX, Google new high. Pre-Fed jitters. Nah, nobody's scared over here. Nobody's scared at Phantoms. Give it to me. Google's trying to set up a new high here. Going for about 207, 218s. Come on, Figure Slam. All right, mentioning that Google's up here to 216, 215 or whatever. All right, got the stop loss at break even. All right, but you can see the SPY or the SPX complex, right? I was mentioning I just want to be a little patient here because of the just kind of where we're at. All right, so I'm flat right now, so you can see that's kind of giving back a little bit there. So what I was going to do before kind of think of swim kind of froze out on me a little bit there was potentially set up what's called I was going to, in the event that we broke up a bit and we broke up above that gamma node and we went into that positive negative gex above, you set up a buy stop. Okay, so if it does happen, you get in the trade. However, now you can see. However, you can see now we kind of gave away that positive COG and we're kind of slapping down into this 6,000 handle here, right? So and that had what's called no fall through, so we're not above there in terms of the regime shift. Trade orb, opening range breakout. Yeah, that's simple stuff. 50 minutes a day, opening range breakout. All right, but that's duly noted. I always talk about that too, and just in regard to that, we just kind of put that in a couple of minutes ago, right? It's 9:48 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so we are trading below 60, that even number here. We might have some room here. It's lightening up here. All right, 55.80 could be a hit point. And now that we have this negative now we have a negative COG. Okay, so now we can kind of work on this candle here. And still long Google, right? Assuming I didn't get stopped out break even here, right? Still got that. All right. That's holding up some decent structure here. But we can work on a little choppy this morning for Fang. Google's doing its thing. Let's see. All right, Google. See how Google is testing its highs. If that gets a new high, we can TP some more. Go on a TP campaign there. So again, I'm just sifting out relative strength, relative weakness with a keen eye on internals and SPX. All right, let's take some profits here on Google, because you can see Google's doing the opposite thing that the SPX is doing, right? So let's take some more profit on Google, I would suggest. Okay. All right, I'll update the chart in a moment. And we are getting a bit of fall through here. I want to see if VIX. Okay, VIX is approaching its highs there, right? So now if we, I'll do SPYs really quickly. It's lower exposure. Puts, long put. Let me just check where S&P futures are. So make sure you TP some Google or do some exposure there. Stop loss break even. Can't hurt you no more. All right, nice little trade there. SPX is breaking its Globex low here. I'm sorry, S&P futures. I don't want to be too late to this. But it's already kind of slapping down a little bit here. So a little late entry here, so be careful with this. I'm going to go low delta here, 32. I'll pick up the 555 for $1.04. This is a little bit late. Probably could have got this better price point, in all fairness. No, don't go around me. Yeah, this one little sorry, I want to print it a little bit nice here. So I want to be a little cautious on this. So we can put in a bid. This is a long put, 555 long put. Going for about $1, but that would have been nice here to snag it like maybe 70 cents and already TP some here. So a little bit late. So you might want to put in a, if you want to get a little aggressive here, you can hit market. Okay, buy these for $1.06. If you want to be a little conservative, you can put in a bid here lower and see if we in the event that like the 1 minute chart kind of pushes back just a little bit on you, you can get filled at like 90 cents. Okay, you put that in there. All right, if you wanted to try to get aggressive here, okay, you'd buy it here. Okay, but you have to be careful with that because we're making a new low here, coming into some weekly VWAP, and we're breaking the Globex trap low, or the Globex low, I should say. So be careful. All right, so we can lean against this bar now. And what I just did here is I put in a limit order to buy the 555 strike put SPYs at 90 cents. Okay. So that would be equivalent to putting in, say, a limit order sell short here. It'd be somewhere around here, give or take. All right, VIX new highs. That's bearish a bit there. Advanced declines trickle down over. All right, so if I would do the same thing in SPX, how's Palantir doing? All right, Palantir is profitable, folks, if you want to snag some. All right, I'm going to TP some Palantir earnings play. So congrats to anybody who caught that. All right, long put, Palantir. Get some. Get some. All right, let's take a profit on Palantir. I want to see if I get a little pullback here for some SPX and some SPYs here. That's what I'm kind of waiting for here. If we get it, if I wasn't messing around, usually I just trade SPX with the guys and girls at Phantoms these days. But I was messing around a little bit with Google and Tesla here this morning. That maybe missed a little SPX play here. It's all good. Just remain disciplined. No FOMO. Stay chill. Do not succumb to the emotions of trading. Be stoic. What does that mean? I don't know, but it sounds cool. So yeah, congrats to anybody who caught that. And if you didn't catch it and you're on the wrong side of it, all good. Keep your head high. It's earnings. TP to me. Tayok, some profit. That sounds awesome. Here. So when you buy a put, that's bearish. equivalent to a short. So I bought a put, sold it, took some profit, whatever, move on. Yeah, Michael Hansen. I know. Michael Hansen's given the full Webster's dictionary there definition. I know, I'm just joking. Yeah, but that is a good trait to have in trading, for sure. All right, I picked up the 100 strike in my other account. You know, did a little bit more. It did a bit better. Did a little bit better. I wish I could spend a little more time with y'all. I'm not leaving yet, but I got a call with a realtor today. She just texted me. To those fives. All right, these 5 puts got filled. Let me snag it in my other account. What is going on down there? What are you doing? Kids, am I right? Kids, am I right? All right, enough of that. All right, so we have this thing called painting bars at Phantoms, just analyzing momentum and supply and demand. And we got our first 30-minute Jason Rodriguez. Yep, Alan, I see you, brother. Appreciate y'all as well. Here you go, brother. I got you covered. So we do gotta watch out, right? We got some stuff down here, 55.80. It doesn't get really bluey until we get to 55.60. So we got some room here. All right, but we gotta watch out because negative gaps works both ways, folks. If you know this, okay. And options depth needs to stop paying me. No, I'm just kidding. If we get above here, am I kidding? I know. If we get above here, this is negative gap, so we could flush. So protect yourself here, okay? Noted, right? So as we get lower, if I kind of zoom in here, Wall Street Boone, you're crazy, brother. Congratulations on your first. Welcome to the stress club. It's a blessing, though. It's a blessing. The 55.80 could give us a little something of a pushback here. All right. And then we go in a little bit of a negative kind of, I shouldn't say negative, but a low tro, kind of peak and tro. And then we have 55.60 is a big one there. Decent. So that's something there. All right, so just because of what's right below here, this is why I'm not getting so crazy heavy, like SPX, for example. I got a little SPY put on here. Nothing too crazy. But also remember, folks, you have to put everything together. in that we broke our Globex low. Are we at a level of demand? Did we break the mother bar low on the S&P futures? No. Well, yes, we are at a level of demand, albeit it's not the greatest in the world here, but it's providing some kind of support demand. And, and in addition to that, we did not break that mother bar low. That's super important. Listen to your mother, right? So, let's be careful. We're still inside bar. We're still inside bar. Does that make sense? Okay, so I got these puts, but I did it in SPY just because it's lower risk than say like SPX. SPX is my favorite thing on the planet, and so that's just what I'm just giving y'all the data, the facts. I don't trade thoughts and opinions. I trade facts and price. I rip tape. So Google new high. Let's TP some more. All right, let's TP some more. Google here, new high. Mark, did you just question my manhood? Now let me go do something stupid to make. No, I'm kidding. Don't worry, I'll get my SPX fix in no matter what. Let me update this real quick. Google, make sure you TP. I'm gonna call at 10:30. Phone call, not options call. John B. Mart, trade the tape. Yes, indeed. John Walmart, trade the tape. All right, so just took some more out of Google here. Google's, I'd say, the only one that really has kind of a more of a follow through here. So again, how did I kind of pick that out of the litter? Because I'm a dog. This was the strongest dog in the litter. It wasn't easy for sure, but decent one there. What's Gexbot telling me here? So I want to be a little careful, open up some new risk just on the mic here and on YouTube, and where am I? Instagram right now? I don't even know where I am. I got to jump on a phone call, but this is why I'm so confused. This is Tesla. I got to switch this over back to SPX. Nothing really sticks out right now at the moment. Make sure you TP in Google. So that all being said, SPY's at VWAP, indeed, correct. So my phantoms will know, make sure you paint bars. So we get the first 30-minute bar high here. Now, first 30-minute bar low. We haven't snapped VWAP just yet. And that may or may not happen. It's something called bar by bar, paint bars. If I didn't have this call with this realtor today, I'd spend some more time with y'all. And on Wednesdays and Fridays, the live trade room's exclusively scheduled. I scheduled no calls during those times, and we go for 4 hours, give or take. Sometimes even longer than that. All night long, all night. Stop that. So we have VWAP there, and I could leave you with this. Just beware of a push higher because there's negative GEX environment regime up here, so that you can go on a bit of a flush, but be patient on that. So right now we're kind of teetering on its on daily VWAP right now. Other internals, let's see. We got VIX. VIX is up, then off the open, VIX kind of spiked down, had a little bit move up, and then VIX spiked up, and then now we're back down in the middle of the range of overnight. Still holding a little bit more up, if you will, right? But in order for if VIX goes down and flushes down and flushes down, and we snap VWAP on SPYs, and we get inside of this red negative GEX regime here, we could flush. Okay, meaning flush higher. Bobby Metallica. Oh, come on, man. He's getting Creed involved there. Can you take me? SPYs might be going higher, brother. Thanks, Mr. Blue. Always appreciate the knowledge. Yeah, indeed, John Walmart. All right, so this will be an easy cut on SPYs. This is exactly why I didn't get too heavy, or I didn't even do SPX, right? All right, and it looks like it's happening, right? So this is why I went, low delta on SPYs. This might, easy have to cut this. Right? And we're getting a negative, positive COG, potentially above VWAP here. All right, and VIX kind of slam it down a little bit there, right? That's we're gonna get long call. Advanced declines improving. Would want to see this kind of take this out and kind of take you higher, right? Creed stop. All right, so if I'm looking at SPX, see, I'll go low delta here, pick these up. And maybe I'll pick up like let me see, because we just officially got a close, right? Positive COG wise. Indeed. All right, we got to cut these puts. I want to grab SPX real quick here first. So if I pick up, say, the 56 40s, 0 DTE 56 40s here. Ah, man, that thing just popped 30 cents. Easy. Let me grab this in my other account. I'm a little bit late to that. That could have definitely been a better entry. I wasn't going to pop open any more risk on y'all, but the bad fill on this. Hopefully, we'll see. But then the markets just gave us a little something there. So cut these, right? Those SPY puts just caught them out, right? Small loss. All right, and these already popped like 30 cents, 40 cents. If I hit that earlier on the button, update the charts and all that. All right, so 56.40 long call. Again, we would need VIX to kind continue its kind of grind lower here. It's still up 3.8% for the day, folks, right? So you gotta be careful here. So the one thing with this risk here is that we're still in a, kind of, there's still a chop, okay? So I'm leaning on this positive COG here. All right, so from here to here, took a loss on some SPY puts, right? Flipped long SPX. Definitely got a better fill here, 70s, 370s. All right, and then flip long SPX. Depending on your fill, they're going for about 480 right now. Could we already start to TP some here? Okay. All right, for a quick little scalp. All right, put a little more in there. Let me update that chart. And this is SPX, right? So long call. What was it, 56.40? And it just TP'd some, all right? Now I'm gonna try to work on this still. I gotta jump on a call. I was like, I'm not gonna open up any new risk because I'm not gonna be able to be here to manage it with y'all. All right, but it just TP'd some. Not a big banger here so far, but again, I just want to be what's the word? Cautious with you folks, especially because I got to jump off in like 10 minutes or less. Okay. So you got to learn how to cut when wrong, and not every cut is going to be a flip. Meaning, okay, it was short and was wrong on that, right? We had a nice rip here, right? And then I waited for the pullback here, right? Try to work, didn't, right? Ended up getting stopped out of the long put short. Right now, this is still not super exciting here, right? I would want to see this negative gex kind of take hold here and see if we can go, right? But flipped, TP1, right? Blue is kind of like buy, and then just took a little off here. And we'll see. The one thing about this too is that we did not, we haven't, you'd want to see, of course, this get taken out. So we just have to be cautious of a range day here today, at least in the beginning of the day. But 15 minutes, we're going to close this 30-minute bar here. Then in 15 minutes, in addition to that too, we're going to get a 1 hour bar close, the first hour bar close. So, I mean, so far, we're holding, green bar up. All right. And so what I would say is if we can make equal to or new high here, right? Equal to / new high. If that happens, TP some, take some profit. All right. And yeah, indeed, Sean Callahan. I'm shipping off back to Boston, brother. So let's do it. do it. Everything on me. I'll Uber because I don't know how crazy you can get. You can get a little crazy if you hang out with me a little bit. Depends on the vibe. If I'm having fun, I stay out. If it's boring, Irish exit. See ya. I'm out. All right, let's see if this thing could go for us here. Vic's doing what he needs to do for this. Yeah, Ben. Oh, TP high. All right, damn, he just pumped up to 550s, 560s. All right, let's TP some here. All right, y'all see this? All right, make sure you take it. Just took some out at 550 in terms of just premium there, right? All right, make sure you're taking profit. All right, just put that limit out there at 550. That got hit, right? Triggered. And I just took it in my other account here too, right? Right. So we were talking about this a little bit earlier in regard to, this is not even really an exciting open at all by any means. It's just getting started though, kind of, right? Get that negative gex, stay focused. Now on the upper side here, 56.50, 56.45. I'm gonna get some spacing. There we go. All right, 570. Let's see if I can grab, if you got a little punch high, let me see if I can grab these sixes. Again, this is the call premium chart, 650, 640 here, right? That's the call that I got. All right, we should be able to punch up to the 6 handle on these premiums. Here we go. Let's take some more profit on these SPX calls. Sevens. Hit it. Hit it. Hit it. Hit. So yeah, we talked just about how you got to learn how to, when you're wrong, be wrong, cut, and potentially flip. And good flip indeed. All right, so SPY's wrong. So, just being patient, right? Little wrong here, 30 cents or 50 cents, whatever that was. And then bigger winner where we have actually caught some 760s, right? So from 420 to 7s at 3 points, right? So cut losers, right winners, NVIDIA. NVIDIA came through, huh? All right, move your stop loss to break even on SPX. I repeat, move your stop loss to break even on SPX. If you still have some on, move your stop loss to break even on SPX. This trade should not hurt you no more. Okay, so Google good, SPYs small loss, good, right? Because how many of you folks, be honest, right? How many folks, you're in a trade and then maybe start to work out a little bit, and then it pushes back a little bit, and then maybe it's like it's about to hit your stop loss, or you're about to, and you want to stay in, and you stay in because you don't want to accept that loser, you don't want to accept the loser, and then it keeps going against you, keeps going against you, keeps going, right? You got to learn when wrong, just cut out, right? And then imagine if I was still long put, meaning bearish, not cutting out, admitting wrong. I don't care. If I'm wrong, be wrong small, right? And then, somebody's like, yeah, I thought you were SPX daddy. Well, guess what? I just showed you right there. Boing, long call, boom, from 422 to 750, still in, stop loss break even. All right, matter of fact, I'm going to take some more profit here, grab this new high. I got 770s. Nvidia push, Google pushing. There she goes. All right, let me grab these 850s here. So there you go, nearly 100% gain. And you got 9, 10. There we go. And stop loss break even. Don't never talk about my wife SPX. I'll tell you what. Anyways, I gotta go. I gotta take a piss. Can I say that online? I don't know. You can't say nothing online these days. Somebody will cancel me now because I said that word. I don't care. But I got 6 minutes. I got to jump on a call, folks. Okay. All right. TP something. So Google, good, decent. Okay. Nice little move there. Okay. I still got a little. I got like 2 contracts left on just as a runner. Stop loss break even on that. Okay. SPYs wrong. Right. Long put wrong. Out. Just had a little TED talk regarding that. Right. Stop loss out. No big deal. What just happened? And SPX, nice little rip. All right, why'd I get long? Kept it simple. We're at that, somewhat demand. We got weekly VWAP and a green bar. We're at VWAP, green bar, took out red bar in the proper location, back above VWAP, right there, VIX dump, long call, zinc. Flipper. All right, and this was the SPY loss. All right, boom. So, whatever, in, cut that bad boy, got long, flip, and the market did the rest. All right, yeah. Any re-entries? My phantoms know. I gotta respect this woman's time, so I gotta jump out. But re-entries, my phantoms will know. Paint bars. Once this bar closes, you can work on pullbacks, right? It's called fade VWAPs, new high, pull fade VWAPs. All right, so it's something, right? So I don't want to say, do this right now, and then this market's not a raging bull right now. So, we could easily come up here, retest yesterday's low up here with positive gamma here, right? As we're approaching, right? And then come back down and slice below negative X again. Okay, so this is why you got to be trained. If you want to learn more about this, I gotta go. If I didn't have this call, I'd stay here. Some of y'all phantoms know. I'll stay. I'll go all night long, babe. But I gotta jump out. So if you want to learn a bit more about this, phantoms.com. If you're just checking the channel out, whatever. We're real traders here. No BS, right? So Thursday, May 8th, 2025. I think that's the year that we're in. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 2.5 days. Name, email, whatever. Click register. Mr. Black, Mr. Green, sometimes both of them. Here's an agenda, right? How markets work, blah, 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 blah. Y'all can read that. Stocks, futures, forex, options, everything, even crypto, right? Love me some crypto. Short-term trading, as you just saw right here. Long-term wealth management as well. All right. Mondays, we go over kind of just monthly, weeklies, dailies. That's it. Right? Only high time frames. No short-term day trading like we just saw right now. Scalping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. Multi-directional trading, up, down, and sideways options, right? So small accounts, if you're 18, 19 years old and you got a couple $100 to your name, right? Good. You can still learn and grow a little baby small account there. And I started trading when I was 21 years old, right? And if you're up there in terms of monies and trying to grow a bigger account as well, right? So come one, come all, no discrimination here. You're gonna get it real, you're gonna get it live, and we're gonna tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, right? Right? This is work. This is a grind. This is a skill set. It's going to take some time. All right. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some time. But once you get the skill set, you got it forever. And nobody can take it away from you. Right. God bless. Take care. I got to jump out. I'll see some of y'all later in the class later today for my phantoms. Other than that, God bless. Take care. Trade safe. Be safe. Blue out.